Hey, I'm ZSH Plays. Welcome to a full tour of Jurassic Park. Over the past month, we've built the whole of Jurassic Park, and in this video, we're going to take a tour and see all of it. It contains everything you see in the film and all the future attractions, and over the past few days, I've been busy turning this into a functioning park, so we now have access roads running all around it, and the first thing we're going to do is take a drive from our helipad to the visitors compound. Being able to drive around this park is so much fun. I really wanted it to feel like a living, breathing park. So this access road runs from the helipad down to the visitor centre. It's got an implied turn off for the East Dock, and then there's another access road which runs from the visitor centre all the way down to the Aviary past the Jungle River Cruise. And that means along with the park tour, you can now drive around the entire park, and there'll always be a road to go on. We're just entering the visitors compound now through this access gate. This is where the access road joins on to the end of the park tour as it goes back to the visitor centre. Lots of signage so people know where to go. We will drive on down the road that goes in front of the visitor centre and do a handbrake turn, obviously. Smoothly done, and there it is. The visitor centre sits, of course, in the middle of the visitors compound. You can see the Safari Lodge and our capture team here as well, so we can keep the park running. We've also got the emergency bunker, which was helpfully already in the game for us, the maintenance shed, and one of the main reasons you need an emergency bunker, the raptors. They live in our raptor pen here. Poor things, it's absolutely tiny. One of the things I'm loving about Jurassic World Evolution 3 is the ability to make things like this and put actual dinosaurs in it, rather than having them all in massive fields surrounded by fences. But enough of the visitor compound, let's get into the park. The park tour begins in a garage here just behind the visitor centre. So we're going to get into one of the Ford Explorers and head out into the park. The full tour takes 25 minutes, but we are just going to be watching the highlights of it here. That big unbuildable part of the map means there's quite a journey from the visitor centre to the park gates. One of the things that does frustrate me about Jurassic World Evolution 3 and all the Jurassic World Evolution games is that you can't control the speed of the tour. You would assume that if this was a real tour, the Jeeps would have variable speeds. They would go significantly faster when they were travelling to a destination, and then probably even slower than they do here as they're going past the habitats. Plus, of course, you could stop them at certain points. Near a goat, maybe? But yeah, I've compressed this down to just the most exciting parts. And what could be more exciting than the entrance gates to the park? Just imagine actually going through those and knowing you're about to see dinosaurs. That would be absolutely mind-blowing. The first stop on our tour, as in the film, will be the habitat for the Dilophosaurus. Before we get there, there's a glimpse of another little road for staff which leads to the East Dock. And then we're into the Dilophosaur habitat. The terrain in this habitat is raised slightly to make sure that we get a good view of the Dilophosaurs. They're impressive, but they're not the biggest of dinosaurs, so want to make sure that we can see them over the fence. I put a close-up of them in here because, like I say, they're not the biggest, but if we just look at the feeder here, you can see a couple of them there. And then it's on to the star of the show, Rexy. We're just going through the tunnel that leads to the habitat here, and thanks to the dynamic lighting that JWE3 has, it is really atmospheric in here. Pretty spooky going through here before you get to the T-Rex. And here's the habitat. This is one of my favourite parts of the park. Really pleased with how this one turned out with the tunnel, the mountain in the background. And we get to see Rexy during the daytime today, stalking through the forest at the back of her habitat. Luckily she isn't down in the giant drop-off that makes no sense. Great to see her here. Let's get a close-up. And we can't have Rexy without a goat. There we go, let's move on to the Triceratops. There's one. I've added the wooden fence in that you briefly see when they're on their way to see the Triceratops. It's not really clear exactly whereabouts that is in the park, but there's absolutely no way a wooden fence is going to keep a Triceratops contained, so it felt kind of pointless putting it in the habitat, so I decided to run it along the beginnings and the ends, and we're just going to be in with the Triceratops. Pretty scary place to be. But hey, this isn't real, and it looks really cool when you drive straight past a Triceratops like this. We're going to move on to the Gallimimus now, and also take a look at one of the dinosaurs that features throughout the park, which is the Compsognathus. We've got these free roaming in all of the herbivore habitats, sort of always just kind of bouncing around somewhere. We get a nice view of them at the beginning of the Gallimimus habitat, before we continue on and see the big fallen tree that Grant and the kids hide behind. Look at them bopping about down there, they're so cute. I really want a pet compy. If you're enjoying this video, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Here's the fallen tree, which I spent a very long time trying to get the Gallimimus to run past. And this is what the habitat looks like from the cars. There's no fences in this one, so they can come right up to the car if they want to. I think I counted 20 Gallimimus in the film. There's 25 in here, but to be honest, we probably could have added more in. Let's leave the Gallimimus behind and go to the first future attraction on the tour, which is a habitat for Baryonyx. This is the first original habitat in the park, and it's in here because Baryonyx was named on the park map. There she is. I've tried to follow the Jurassic Park aesthetic, build it around what would be a naturally occurring waterfall, and then the Jeep tour winds around it. We've got a watchtower here as well for security purposes, which is based on the raptor pen. Here we go, we can see them from the cars here, and we travel round in a loop here, around a massive tree, past the Baryonyx. You can see the whole habitat here. This is another habitat that I'm really pleased with. Once you've driven past the waterfall and then the big tree, it's on to the next original habitat, which is for the Herrerasaurus. Herrerasaurus is also in here because they're named on the park map, so I built a kind of massive zoo-style habitat for them, still sticking to the Jurassic Park aesthetic, but using a big dry moat to keep the dinosaurs in, so that we can get an uninterrupted view of them from the car here. They're such cool animals, one of the oldest of the dinosaurs. And after them, we go into the habitat of one of the most famous dinosaurs, which isn't in the film, but is one of the embryos that Dennis Nedry steals, the Stegosaurus. Who doesn't love the Stegosaurus? Such an amazing animal. Got a lot of comments about the skin that I chose for these guys because I didn't go with the Lost World skin, but I just think it's really low res, looks really poor. So I went with Frontier skin, with the colours matched as closely as possible to how they appear in the Lost World. I checked again after all the comments, and I'm going to stick to my guns. I much prefer this texture, so that's the one that's in there. When you download this on the workshop, you can of course just remove the Stegosaurs and replace them with some with the Lost World skin if you like. I'm going to put the download code up on screen at the end of the video so you can jump in and explore Jurassic Park yourself. And we're entering the final habitat in the tour part of the park, the Brachiosaur and Parasaurolophus Lagoon, one of my favourite places in the park. So peaceful in here, and the Brachiosaurs are just absolutely majestic. It would be amazing to drive through here and see this, as long as one of them didn't stand on the car you were in. I'd love to know what your favourite build is in Jurassic Park, so let me know in the comments. This is probably the one paddock in the film that you could recreate perfectly in the last two games as well. All you need to do is get the shape of the lake right, get the hills right, get the trees right, and then add your dinosaurs, and it always looks good. No building or anything like that in this one, it's all just landscaping, but it's just so close to the film, I absolutely love it. We've got some baby Parasaurolophus in here now as well. I added a nest in so we could get those. And that's the end of the park tour, but not the end of Jurassic Park. We're going to return to the visitor centre to see the other side of the park with the Jungle River Cruise, the Aviary, and 4 more dinosaurs. Back in the visitors compound, this is the Safari Lodge based on concept art for the film, and this is the entrance to the second part of the park and the Jungle River Cruise. Here's the entrance to it. This is where our guests would begin their journey down the river through the park. No swimming, please. Starts on a kayak, because that's the only option we've got in the game. We'd love that to be a big yellow Jurassic Park style raft, but that's the only option we've got at the moment. But regardless of what boat you're in, once you get out onto this river, it is so serene. I really like this part. The first dinosaur that we see on this part of the trip is the Proceratosaurus. We've got a couple of those in here, in a habitat designed to keep them as close to the fences as possible so that we can see them. And then you can get a glimpse here of the latest addition to this river, which is a bridge that I just built a couple of days ago. And I gotta say, despite the lack of vehicle choice, this is such a good addition to the game. Being able to watch your guests just floating down this river is so cool. This is a functioning bridge, so you can drive a Ranger Jeep over here to get down to the Aviary. And in the background you can see the next dinosaur on the river cruise, some more Brachiosaurus. There's 3 in the Brachiosaurus Lagoon, and then 2 of them here. And on the other side of the river is Metriacanthosaurus, and then at the end of the river is the Aviary. This was the most extensive build in the park, getting this to work, or to look like it works, getting the Pteratops Lodge inside it, and most importantly getting a boat in here with guests actually sat in it. It's definitely the most difficult part of the entire park to build, but I think it was well worth the time spent. And that is where we are going to end the tour, here in the Pteratops Lodge at the top of the aviary with the pteranodons flying around. If you want to check out Jurassic Park yourself, then the workshop code is on screen now. Thank you so much for all your suggestions throughout the course of this series. I've taken quite a lot of them on board and incorporated them into the park, trying to credit you when that has happened. And a special thanks, as always, to all our channel members. Hit the join button on the channel if you want to see your name up here. I'll be back soon with some more Jurassic World Evolution 3. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye.